I love the colorful clothes she wears.
And welcome back to the Key West News Hour right here on KONK, Konk Community Radio. I'm your host, Guy deBoer, and joining us in the studio this morning is Monroe County Sheriff candidate Tom Peteck. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Guy. How are we doing?
I'm doing very well. Tom, before you came on, I asked you a couple questions, and one of the things is the race for Monroe County Sheriff's Office is a lot of candidates that are running for this position. And I asked you, one of the questions is how do you try to differentiate yourself so that you can, get out of the crowd? And you're telling me about a walk that you did from one end of the Keys to the other. Now, it just wasn't a simple walk. What was your goal in doing this?
Couple things. One is that I'm a strong believer in community policing, and one of the functions of community policing is that the deputies are approachable. We started at the 103. We worked our way north. I was either talking to business owners, community members, or if the business was closed, I was hanging a little rec card on their door to let them know that I've been there.
Mm-hmm. Now, you talk about community policing. That's obviously something you feel is lacking right now in the training for the Monroe County deputies?
That's correct. The community should know the deputies that are working in their areas. They should be familiar with them. They should know them by first name.
Now, I don't know how things are scheduled, but if a deputy's working area, is he in one area for a period of time, or do they go through some sort of rotation?
Usually a deputy is assigned an area. He's going to be there. They work 12-hour shifts. So he's going to be in that area for 12 hours, taking calls, meeting with the public, or should be meeting with the public and the community.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the other issues that has come up that you brought is talking about morale issues within the department. Why is the morale of a deputy important?
It becomes important when you start looking at retention. For years, we've been a training ground for outside agencies. They come in, they do their 2 years, and then they turn and burn and go to Miami, Broward, Palm Beach, a little higher salaries. But in the meantime, us as a taxpayer are losing money because we're paying to train these people only to lose them and not retain them.
So the extra cost not only is in training, but I mean, if an officer graduates, obviously a law enforcement academy as an example, what's the difference as an example that somebody like yourself, you just retired from the department on June 1st. How many years have you been in law enforcement?
August would have been my 25th year.
What's the difference that I guess the citizenry can expect from an example of you showing up on a scene that they've been called, opposed to a 1, 2, or 3 year officer?
Part of it is when you look at the younger officers, they come out of the academy. They go through what's called a field training program, to where they're trained by other deputies, and that deputy doesn't become seasoned until he's in his about second to third year, to where he has a wealth of knowledge. There's still that uncomfortable kind of, where do I walk? You can't really expose them to everything in that first year or two. You try to get as much training in and much life.
Encounters with the public as an
Encounters
example.
with the public.
And you're not necessarily encountering them in their best light, is that right?
In some cases, no.
So experience does matter. Is there a statistic as an example, let's say over the last 10 years, of what the average retention of a deputy in the Monroe County Sheriff's Department is?
Our largest group of employed Monroe County employees is 0 to 10 years. Once you get beyond 10 years, it's substantially less.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the issues I think that for morale must be pay. You said that, how can Monroe County, as an example, compete with a larger city? Let's just use Miami or South Florida in general. Our living expenses are normally a little bit higher here.
That's correct.
Even if there was high morale, at the end of the day, if somebody's got a job offer to go to another city for a higher pay grade, how can we compete with that?
Part of it's this. The Keys are long. We're growing from a rural to a city environment, but we're still a small community. I would rather prefer work down here for a couple dollars less than to go to Miami and be shot at every day.
There's no doubt that South Florida definitely has a higher violent crime rate than we have here in Monroe County. Are there other issues that you feel that you can address better because of your experience or your style of management?
I think we need to provide our employees with a fair and stable work environment. We need to put an emphasis on applauding them when they do a job well done, not be quick to jump on the disciplinary side. You're dealing with a bunch of young people that aren't seasoned. They need to be guided. They need to be led at what you're supposed to do or what you should have done, and not so quick to demoralize them and throw paper on them and tell them, you really messed this up, and, we're going to start throwing letters in your file, and that's not the way to start a police career.
Recently in Monroe County, there was an incident where an officer reportedly showed up intoxicated, and their supervisor let him out on the road. Was that a case that maybe they should have acted faster if that was the findings?
They should have taken him in, had him blow on an intoxilizer right away. They should have charged him. That's part of where I think we need to be clear and transparent on how we treat our employees. In that case and apparently there was a track record with that deputy.
Mm-hmm. Now, you talk about fairness. Is that also another issue within the department where the deputies don't feel that everyone is treated fairly in adhering to the rules? That's
correct. There seems to be two sets of standards, and one for the in crowd and one for everybody else.
The term in crowd, this sounds like high school.
Almost. It's pretty much close to it.
Well, Tom, can you come up with a couple instances where you were able to, on your walk, meet a citizen that spoke about some instances that they or experiences they've had with the department that you can relate to and would like to see changed?
There was an individual, a business owner, that owned a business. There was a deputy that came into his business one morning to tell him that some of the wrappings on his product was in the woods and that he was going to be charged with illegal dumping. That subject started thinking about, I wasn't dumping over there. I have a dumpster out back. And then as time went on throughout the day, he realized that he was missing $12,000 worth of merchandise.
Somebody else was dumping things.
Somebody else did some midnight shopping, and but there seemed to be there was more concern over the trash in the woods than the $12,000 worth of product that was stolen. Yes, he went on to where him and his wife were able to locate part of the property, asked for assistance. He was told that we were too busy. He went over, met with an individual. He wasn't confrontational. Walked up and actually saw his product still in the wrapping, sitting in the yard where they were selling it. Went back to his car, called for a deputy. Deputy showed up and ridiculed him for trying to recover his own property. He took a picture of it for future reference. And to make a long story short, I don't think any charges were brought against the people. He eventually had to recover the property on his own, and when we were done talking, I apologized to him, and he looked at me, and he's like, "Why are you apologizing?" I said, "Well, that's not the way we train our people. That's not the way our people work."
Well, I have to admit that's a very unusual subject that a business owner is now reporting a theft, happens to actually know where the goods are, and a Monroe County deputy did not inquire further about potential wrongdoings.
And didn't actually take the property into evidence, left the property there.
That's a very interesting story. Tom, I want to thank you for joining us here on KONK, Konk Community Radio. See how fast 10 minutes fly by?
Thank you, Guy. It was enjoyable being here.
Thank you so much. You're listening to Konk Community Radio. I am your host, Guy deBoer. Stick around. Coming up next is Captain Karen Lucas. We're going to talk about hepatitis C. Be right back after these messages.